Hello, today, for the third time on my channel, I have SSRF vulnerability in GitLab. This time, however, it was found in the external component called Grafana. It was reported by Justin Gartner and he got $12,000 for it. Links to the report, as well as to his blog post and his talk about the topic, are in the description. Enjoy the video. Let's start with Grafana. It's a software used for monitoring and creating graphs with analytics data. And it's open source, which means it's a little bit easier to look for vulnerabilities because we can see the source code. And the researcher noticed the root avatar/hash, where hash is the parameter. And after receiving such request, Grafana took the hash and made the request to Gravatar website. It's used for storing avatars. The URL for this request is created like this. The first part is hard-coded and the second part is our hash. What's important here is that the hash is everything after the slash of the first request, which means it includes any parameters after the question mark. Then there is question mark appended and value of rec params, which are hard-coded parameters d, size, and r. So we can only control the last part of the path and the parameters, which means that we are far from SSRF vulnerability. Unless we can find an open redirect vulnerability on a Gravatar website and then we could use it to redirect the server to the internal location, achieving our server-side request forgery. For this purpose, a Gravatar documentation about the default URL might be very useful. The D or default parameter that you saw earlier is used when Gravatar doesn't find the image on his own server. It can be some predefined value like retro, but it can also be a URL, which is very promising when you're looking for open redirects. But when you provide the URL, you get redirected to yet another domain. This is the way that you would tell this domain where to look for your image. It would try to go to this location and give you back the image. But if it would be on the domain bp.blogspot.com, instead of fetching this image for you, it would redirect you to that domain. But you could exploit this functionality by using bp.blogspot.com as the path, achieving an open redirect. So we can use this chain of redirects to make the server send the request to specified by us host. However, there is still one problem. There will always be that bp.blogspot.com part in the path. But this is easy to resolve. We can just introduce yet another redirect, this time to our server. And on our server, we can host the code that will strip this part and send the one last open redirect to the arbitrary host and arbitrary path. Chaining this all together, the final exploit URL would look like this. However, if we would send it like this, then Grafana would think that only this part is the hash. So we need to remember to URL encode some values, sometimes even more than once. On GitLab, it was exploitable by requesting a standard AWS metadata endpoint, which usually allows to take over the whole server. And that's it. If you're interested in more ways of exploiting this Grafana vulnerability, check out Justin's blog post or his talk about the topic. They are linked in the description. But for now, thanks for watching, happy hunting and goodbye!